Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World. Nope, actually it's the Lost World Jurassic Park release because we've got ourselves the brand new SDCC exclusive male Tyrannosaurus Rex. It just arrived from Mattel Creations. Luckily the warehouse where these ship are not that far from me. It's actually about 2 hours or so from me, so it didn't take very long to get here. And you can see again the packaging looks really cool. We've got a really nice Lost World Jurassic Park logo right here. If we turn it to the side, welcome to San Diego and Mattel Creations. And then here on the front, a beautiful shot of the T-Rex. Again, a shot from the Lost World Jurassic Park when the male Rex escapes the boat and kind of heads off into the city, which is super cool. Over here on the side, again, InGen and then Mattel Creations. And up on the top, you've again got another Lost World logo right there and Danger 10,000 volts. So let's pop this box open and check out what's inside. So once we open that box, we slide this box out and we can now see again we've got a really cool shot here basically of the T-Rex in San Diego after it has kind of moved on into a store, because you can see everything all smashed up and everything. And then you can also see, of course, the set itself, everything included in there, and the Lost World Jurassic Park logo down there. On the side, kind of a nice shot that says, "Notice, please call 911 immediately if you encounter a large lizard." You've got a nice tree over here, again some windows and stuff that are cracked up on the top. And then when we head here to the back, you can see tons of people escaping that store or building, along with the human here in the T-Rex costume, which is pretty cool, who is actually included in this set. And then on the other side, again, basically like a nice little staircase where you can, I guess, run from if you're one of these people fleeing the T-Rex. And then the Lost World logo again. I don't think there's anything special now, not really anything up on the top. And then again, you can see like in the background there, you've got a really cool kind of backdrop where you can see other people running and, you know, taking off and everything back there. I'm pretty intrigued to actually see that backdrop right there once we kind of open this up. So let's now open this box and keep moving forward. So we have the set unboxed basically. So what I really did here was take the T-Rex out and then of course our human guy over here in his inflatable T-Rex costume. But I think I'm going to keep everything else in the back here in this box because I don't really care too much to take it all out, and I'll show you why here in a second. So if we move everything out of the way, I guess we could technically readjust the camera at this point, and we bring this up, you can see one thing we do have is a bag here. Oh man, I didn't even realize these guys were hanging all over the place. Hang on. So there we go, we got those now out of the way. But one thing that you do have as far as accessories go is a Jurassic Park bag that's meant to go over our human figure. Basically, it's what he has purchased from whatever convention this might be. You can see that there are some kind of, you know, in quotation marks, goods, some stuff that he basically has purchased from the convention there in his bag. We also actually have a shrunken down, if my camera focuses, very small version of the set. So again, it's kind of the human character here purchasing, or I guess maybe just running off with, I don't know, but basically he has acquired this set here. So there's like a really small version here for him to, again, include in a diorama, which is really cool. And we've also got a When Fans Ruled the Earth banner here. I personally would have still wanted the When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth banner, but it is what it is. But that's pretty cool. I do like that that's included as well. But the thing that's most interesting to me as far as everything that we see here is the backdrop. So if we actually come up here, check out the backdrop. First of all, we have the Jurassic Park gates right there. You can see the Jurassic Park logo up there at the top of the gates. As you move through, you can also see Jurassic Park again up there on the top on like that light area. We have humans running all over the place, people just running in each and every direction, trying to, of course, escape the terror of the T-Rex that is, you know, basically bursting in through the side over here. Also, I love the Jurassic Park poster and everything back there on the wall. That's pretty interesting. But as we move through, one of the funniest parts about this is the fact that there are basically like dinosaur toys and figures and everything here. And I don't know if Mattel did this on purpose or not, but basically they took a bunch of dinosaur figures that are from other brands and put them here in the back of their packaging. So first of all, there's the Schleich T-Rex right there. As we move over, we do have the Papo T-Rex, who's kind of obscured thanks to that plastic, but you can see him standing right there. Next to him is another Schleich T-Rex. We then have the Acrocanthosaurus from Rebor. As we move along, we've got a Brachiosaurus right there, which I believe is the Schleich Brachiosaurus. Kind of looks like it. We then also have the Schleich Stegosaurus, as well as the Schleich Pentaceratops back there. And then if we actually move down here to the floor, we have what looks like the Papo running T-Rex and the Papo Triceratops potentially down here on the floor that somebody has knocked down. So that's super interesting. Again, I don't know if they just went and found a bunch of images of different dinosaurs and thought, you know what, we're going to use those for like our box here, or if they went and actually searched out different dinosaur figures to include, but that's super cool. But as you can see, there are more people running away again over here, and you can also see Rexy off on the side, and then you have kind of like little areas here down the floor with like broken glass and stuff. So that is a super, super cool backdrop. Definitely an awesome addition to this set. But then when it comes to the two figures that I did actually want to get out, and of course those would be the stars of the show, I would think, you do have our human figure here in the dinosaur, again, the inflatable costume here that we have going on. So when it comes to the inflatable Rexy, I guess you could say, obviously we've got some decent paintwork and everything to it. You've got a nice kind of like orangish brown tone of color, more like orange than anything. You have some variations of darker browns that move down through the course of the figure, and then also patterned through the legs and the arms and everything. Funny enough, you actually have painted finger claws and painted toe claws, which is really funny because they put that on the inflatable figure, but most times don't put that on the actual figures from Mattel. But it does look pretty cool. Definitely has the overall visual of being an inflatable costume. And one thing that is also really cool is it's actually kind of just a rubber and, you know, obviously hollow inside, so you can squeeze it, making it actually have the feeling of being an inflatable costume, which is really cool. Like, you can very clearly see it's quite flexible. We also have a head here that, of course, is for our human, and you can see that that is sculpted pretty decently and also painted pretty decently. I would think that yep, is removable, so you can see right there, you can pull that head out, and that is because you also have an alternate head that you can put in there that is kind of hiding back here. So it's up to your preference which head you would like to use. But we also, of course, have articulation for the figure, so you can move the arms forward and back, also out away from the body. You can also move the elbow forward and back, and yes, it can swivel, which is pretty cool. Also, you have a lighter tone here on the underside of the suit, and it almost looks like you have the appearance of like the zipper moving up there through the underside. But you also have leg articulation, again, forward and back, as well as, now the head just fell out, but as well as knee articulation, which isn't really doing a whole lot, but you can very clearly see there is a joint right there. But that's definitely stiff. It's not moving forward and back, but it's definitely meant to. You can very clearly see that. It is swiveling, though. And then you have ankle articulation, which is moving forward and back, which you can see very nicely and can also swivel. And again, the figure overall is pretty cool. And now I got to put that head back in. Doesn't seem to stay in there too well, especially because it is just a rubber. So once you kind of lean it down, that head didn't fall out that time, but it definitely seems like it might be prone to falling out. So if you did get this set from Mattel Creations, definitely keep an eye on that. Try not to lose that, because I could easily see that getting lost. But then we, of course, have the star of the show, who we are again going to have to readjust the camera for, because it's a pretty big figure, but it's obviously the male Tyrannosaurus Rex. And in person, I actually think it looks a lot cooler than I was expecting it to. I'm not really sure why. I feel like a lot of the images that I had seen prior to the arrival of this had me a little bit let down when it comes to this one, but actually seeing it now here in person, I can say, definitely is nicer than I was expecting, though the tones of color are way more like the Kenner male Tyrannosaurus than the actual male Tyrannosaurus from the film. And I would say that it was very clear that they were kind of going for a throwback to the Kenner version, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, maybe there was some inspiration when it comes to the colors of this one, but I I feel like they genuinely were going for just your standard male Jurassic Park T-Rex, since so much of the packaging is kind of replicating the San Diego scene. So I would definitely say the paint apps on the crowdfunder version were so much better than what we see on this version. Though the paint apps on this are okay, it's just that the tones of color are definitely quite off when it comes to the actual colors of a male Tyrannosaurus. But one thing that is cool is we don't have the same head sculpt that we had for the older Hammond Collection T-Rex. When you get nice and close, you can first of all see that the detail does look really good, definitely really quite nice. We've got the nostrils sculpted out right there. We do of course have glass eyes, which are not very good. You can't really see too well the eyes. Again, pretty much the same consistent problem that we've had with the older Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurs they had released. You do have a darker tone there around the eye, a little variation to the greens in the face. You have a darker green following down here, some lighter greens in like the palette and moving back there as well. And I do like, again, that darker tone there around the eye. Definitely looks quite nice. We also have a black striping moving over the snout down into the palette, which looks really good. Another thing that's a huge plus for this figure is the fact that we have those newer, sharper teeth from Mattel, which are way better than the teeth that were on the older Mattel Hammond Collection T-Rex. So they have a lot more of a genuine sharp look to them. They are, of course, flexible, but they look way, way better. You do have an articulated jaw, clearly, which means you can open that mouth quite wide inside the mouth. You have the tongue and everything, which is actually articulated, which you can see. There's a very nice pinkish tone here to the inside of the mouth, but they've actually added some reddish tones in there for a little variation of color, which is absolutely a step up from your standard Hammond Collection stuff. I don't know if they've done like a wash. Definitely you can see again right here like a reddish wash that they've added to the inside of the mouth. You can even see it over here on the side, which the detail over here on the side looks really nice. And again, we also have the gloss coat added to the inside of the mouth. You can see more of the reddish wash up here on the top. So really nice paint application for the inside of the mouth of a Mattel figure. That's pretty impressive. We also have a nice lighter tone for the lower jaw. And as you move down into the lower jaw, you can see the scales look great. They are super nicely done. Really vibrant, definitely crisp and popping there on the sculpt. And one thing that is really cool and pretty much a dead giveaway as far as this one goes, showing off that, again, the fact that it is definitely a different head sculpt than the previous one is the fact that we actually do have the injuries here on the face that are consistent with the male Tyrannosaurus Rex. So definitely really nice to see that they have actually captured that very nice detail right there. As you move back into the body, I don't know how much of the body would be different from the older one, but we're just going to run through it anyway. The skin detail does look really nice. You've got quite a bit of variation of color with a light green striping here moving along the back. Some black, of course, striping as well. Then you've got the darker green, and then you also have the nice white tone here for the lower half of the body. You do, of course, have neck articulation right here. You've got a spot that squeaks a whole lot. It goes up, down, left, right. Can swivel a little bit there as well. And then you've got this area, which also moves left, right, up, and down. But this spot here is a rubber, whereas this spot is a harder plastic. So this one's a lot more kind of flexible when you touch it. Has more of like a real feel. You also have the nice skin texture here, down here in the underside of the throat. Not a whole lot when it comes to like the bulkiness of the throat that you would see on the male T-Rex, but it sort of looks like it has it a little bit. But I kind of remember the older Hammond Collection female Rex having that as well. So I don't know if that's really any different at all, but I think they should have used more of a yellowish tone moving along the back of the body, more so than the light green. Definitely would have looked better and more screen accurate, but they did do a pretty decent job when it comes to applying, again, the darker tones moving along the back, also allowing kind of like those lighter greens to creep through some of the blacks as you move through. As you lead down, you do continue to have a few different shades of greens, like you could see if we move the leg back, some lighter greens here, again, the darker greens. This is really like the Kenner male T-Rex color green. But as you move down, you have an even darker green or a more vibrant dark green right there, and then lighter greens moving down through the arm. You, of course, also have arm articulation forward and back. It does come out away from the body. You have elbow articulation forward and back. It does also swivel. And then you have wrist articulation forward and back and can also swivel. And yes, we actually have painted finger claws, which is nice, but sadly, they're very round rounded and they don't look all that genuinely sharp, but they do have a nice gloss coat. You also have, of course, the midsection articulation, left and right, and then up and down a bit, which is, again, pretty standard for the Hammond Collection T-Rex. As you move back, you can see again more of the darker tone leading down here into the side of the Rex, a fairly smooth transition moving to the underside. And one thing I did notice that's really nice is we do actually have the trademark scale detail. It's not as vibrant as I would like, but you do have that trademark underside to a Jurassic Park T-Rex on this figure. And I kind of thought that the older Hammond Collection version didn't have that, but now I'm wondering if maybe I just didn't think it did, but it actually did. I'll have to look at that. But as you move up, again, you continue to have the striping leading back into the leg here. You can see the musculature of the leg looks really nice. Again, you've also got the lighter greens, the darker greens, the black and everything striping along as you lead down. You continue to have all of that striping moving down the front of the leg, the lighter tone moving along the back of the thigh, all the way down into the back of the feet. And then you've got the lighter greens here for the feet. You can see the feet look really nice as far as the sculpt goes. You've got some nice darker blackish tones here for the claws. Nice gloss coat as well. And yes, we do have dew claws, but surprise, surprise, they are unpainted. We couldn't possibly have gotten painted dew claws, even on a figure like this that does include a ton of paintwork, actually. But you have the ability to articulate the legs forward and back really smoothly. They do move out away from the body a little bit. You as well have knee articulation. Let's go ahead and try to get that moving. Seems a little stiff, so up above the knee, and then there it's moving below the knee as well. So that allows you to get some really good, I know it's in a goofy spot right now, but some really good bends to the legs. You can really get some nice poses out of this one, which is definitely a plus for this figure. As you move down, you also have a spot of articulation here, which goes forward and back and can swivel. And then another spot right here. I'm going to have to readjust right here, which is going forward and back. There we go. We got it moving now. It's a little stiff and then can swivel. But that, again, allows some really nice posability. And one of the good updates for this one, on top of those much sharper looking teeth, is the fact that we do have more proportionate feet, which is a massive plus for this over the older ones. So this really gives me hope that they are going to re-release the older T-Rex with the better proportions and better appearance that we have on this one. But as you lead up, you again have the white for the underside, the variations of greens. You can even see a little lighter green here, and again the darker greens, the lighter greens moving along the tail. You have the black striping, and that actually leads the entire way almost throughout the tail. Obviously you can see it disappearing about this point, and then we have more of the lighter green and then the light underside. But man, is it ever nice to see a Mattel figure with paintwork like that all the way out through the tail. You do have articulation right here, left, right, up, down, can swivel, and then another spot right here which can swivel, also can go up, down, left, and right, and then of course the wire tail the rest of the way out like you usually do for the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus. So of course you're also going to see that again, it's going to be the same on this side pretty much as what we saw on the other side. No real big surprises or differences from one side to the other when it comes to this one, but I can definitely say that this one is quite a bit better. Let me get it standing here for a minute. Quite a bit better than I personally was expecting it to. I was almost thinking I wasn't going to like the figure that much, but I had to purchase it when it went up on Mattel Creations because I really didn't want to miss it, just in case I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. And I will say I definitely do quite like this figure. The paint, again, the colors, everything is definitely off. We should have had a yellow more so than the light green up here and stuff. And then again, more of a yellow rather than the light green, which is a different shade of light green. But moving along the back, again, the colors seem so much more based on the Kenner version rather than the actual screen accurate version. But it does still look pretty cool, and it's by far the best male Rex that Mattel has released so far. If only we had the crowdfunder version, though, that one was definitely better than this one. But as far as the size and everything goes, I would think it's probably right there in the same size range as the previous Hammond Collection T-Rex, so there's not going to be much in the way of surprises for that. Lengthwise, about 24¼ inches, somewhere in that vicinity, or around like 61.5 centimeters. And then for a height in the position that it's currently in to the top of the head, you're looking at about 8 3/4 inches or a little bit over 22 centimeters. But again, since it is a posable figure, you could definitely, pose it up way higher if you want. So that height can increase drastically. It really is just dependent on where and how you pose it. Then when it comes to our little human being down here, we'll have to readjust the camera for this one. Lengthwise, you're looking at about 6 inches or around 15, maybe closing in on 15.5 centimeters, but not quite. And then about 4.5 inches or around 11.5 centimeters in height. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our SDCC T-Rex. And you can see again, the sizes aren't really all that surprising. And even when it comes to the human in the inflatable costume, the, again, Muldoon and whoever is inside that costume seem to be right there around the same height. It's kind of hunched over right now, but they would be roughly in the same height, just of course the costume makes it a lot taller. But no, again, surprises as far as the sizes go in this set. Everything is pretty much exactly where I expected it to be. And then when it comes to a comparison with the older Hammond Collection T-Rex, here it is next to the male, which you can see the sizes again, pretty much the same. This one is a customized version, as I did kind of, customize it, repaint it and everything when, quite a ways back. I do have a few more actually in box, but I just don't have them open, so I'm using the customized one. But you can see again, pretty much the same size for both. And here's a shot from the side of the male and female Hammond Collection Rex. Of course, the female, like I said, already customized, but that is of course the same sculpt, just a new head sculpt and new feet that were put on that one. Next to the male, again showing you that they are definitely in the same size range. So this brand new Lost World Jurassic Park Mattel Hammond Collection SDCC exclusive male Rex set is actually really cool, and definitely way cooler than I was expecting it to be. So again, that's definitely great news, but the bad news is this set was crazy hard to get a hold of for so many people. In fact, I've heard nothing but complaints about this set and how quickly it sold out. Many people stated that they had, the figure in their cart and they were heading to checkout and it was sold out very quickly. I did buy mine, and then I actually went back and checked again a few minutes later just to see if it was still there, and it was still there. For me, it actually gave me the opportunity to put it back in my cart again, and I actually had considered buying a second one because I wanted to keep it just like in box, but then I thought, you know what, with this thing probably being limited, I'm just going to let it go because it'll give a different collector the chance to actually grab one. And if it's still there later in the day after everybody had a chance to buy it, then maybe I'll come back and grab a second one to keep in the box. Unfortunately, I went back about 16 minutes later and I checked and it was sold out. So I don't know how long it was sold out for at that point, but I was really hoping that Mattel maybe had learned from their previous mistakes of just creating such a tiny amount of these. And, maybe they would have created more of them, giving people a better chance of actually getting a hold of it, because it is a travesty that it sold out so quickly and so very few people had a chance to get a hold of it, especially because the scalpers are horrible with this and they are all over eBay for like $300 now, because that's how those scumbags live their lives, unfortunately, by preying on good people like us. But I was lucky enough to get one, so I'm pretty happy with the fact that I do now have this figure. Again, the paint is pretty decent, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the crowdfunder version. I definitely think the crowdfunder version was quite a bit nicer than this one. But the colors on this one do look really good for the most part, and I kind of like the fact that it's almost like a mixture between the actual version that you see in the Lost World Jurassic Park, but also with some Kenner Bull T-Rex influence, so it's sort of like a combination of both. But it's decent as far as the paint apps, just not as good as the older one, and not quite what I would say is screen accurate. But the coloration is fairly nicely applied, I will say that, and I do love the newer updates, of course, with better feet, better, more proportionate sized feet, better looking teeth that actually look genuinely sharp, and they didn't go the super lazy route and just give us the same head sculpt as the older Rex. They did give us a new head sculpt that does actually have like the scars and everything and looks a little bit more like the male Rex. It's not perfect, I'll definitely say that, and I think they should have had a little more bulkiness in the throat to make it a little bit more screen accurate, but it's also not terrible either. And the articulation for the most part is actually really smooth on this one. We do have some pretty fun extras as well, again with the little human being in the costume, which is pretty neat. Not the greatest thing in the world, and I actually have heard a lot of people saying they're just going to sell that when they get it. So, you know, again, that kind of shows you how much people were looking forward to that figure. But I think it's pretty fun and definitely a neat little addition to this set. And then, of course, you have all of the other extras that I had shown off earlier that I didn't really care too much about and didn't want to take out of the box. But it also has the really fun backdrop that's included and some excellent packaging. Also, I did notice that mine's got something goofy going on. After I took the closer look, I realized that one of the feet has like the toes really close together and the other toes in a more comfortable kind of opened up position. I don't know if this thing got warped somehow in the packaging or if they're all like that. So if you did happen to score one, let me know if your feet look like mine and if you have the kind of closed toe look on one side. If not, I might have to warm those up and see if I can get them back into the right position. But again, unfortunately, this one did sell out super quickly. I'm kind of hoping after the SDCC more will go up for sale so more people have a chance to get a hold of it, but I don't know for sure if that's going to happen. Unfortunately, the only other way I can think of to get a hold of it is to buy it on eBay from somebody that's hopefully selling it for a decent price or one of the horrible, disgusting scalpers. But unfortunately, again, those might be the only options at this point. Like I said, though, keeping my fingers crossed that more go up at some point. But one way or another, again, it's pretty darn awesome. So in the comments section, let me know what you guys think of it, and of course, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.